It's the end of the world. Everything is thrown into chaos. The sky flashes with lightning, a grim background that highlights the inevitable destruction. That was essentially the opening to TXT's Eternally music video from 2020, but it's not so dissimilar to the music video we just got, Beautiful Strangers. A lot of time has passed since their debut and that Eternally music video, and now we're seeing one of their endings. But not as an omen of the future. I believe it's an ending where, because they are together, they too become a guiding star in the sky. Let's talk about it. I was really prepping us for this album this time around. Wow. First they posted the concept videos from like every single album all in one video, which was sort of preparing us for the lore that led into this concept trailer and, you know, the music video for Beautiful Strangers. And they have actually said that this comeback is the last arc in this entire storyline about the Star Seekers in general. It's not the end of TXT. They're just closing a chapter of a very long story about growing up, and it's always been about growing up, but now they're all grown up. It's time for them to spread their own wings and sort of be free from the story that they started with. I think that that is the overall theme that we need to consider while going through all this, so please keep that in mind. This is actually the ending. Even if they release more like related to this comeback, I know they have all their solo videos, the inevitable goal is wrapping up this entire storyline. So let's break down the concept trailer and the Beautiful Strangers music video today together, because I think that these two videos are sort of telling the same story and they should be spoken about as a pair. Just as these two videos are linked, so too are the songs that are used in each, which is Beautiful Strangers and Song of the Stars, which is in turn connected to the greater storyline. If you're at all familiar with TXT's lore, you'll know that Song of the Star is what they need to basically stop the apocalypse from happening. It feels very fitting to me that the concept video had all of them coming together while Song of the Stars was playing, but there are a lot of references like that within the songs themselves, like within the lyrics. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but as an example, in Song of the Stars there is a reference to their start line, which is a lyric from Magic Island, and it's also in Deja Vu where they mentioned leaving their memories of leaving their memories at the start line. And of course, the choreography actually has references to past choreography as well. Someone made a post on Twitter for it, so you can check that out if you're interested in seeing more specific examples. The Song of the Stars also gives important context for understanding the lyrics and story of Beautiful Strangers, especially the line, "In a world where the spell is broken." What spell? The lyrics from Song of the Stars tells us, "The tears we cried together became a spell. Even if we part ways, we'll meet here again. Do you still remember that promise made with our pinkies?" The promise they made is the spell. This could also be why this universe is even occurring. Since we saw in the Japanese version of Good Boy Gone Bad, Moa seemed to leave the boys, which would also essentially mean breaking the spell or this promise. So this is saying that in a world where they never met again, they became beautiful strangers, ones that they decide to protect regardless. But what does the phrase beautiful strangers actually mean? Generally speaking, in this sense, I think it means two strangers who don't know each other, but go through the same suffering, the same pain, the same ending. Both the music video and concept trailer are occurring in a high surveillance world where they need to hide out and are the target of the police and maybe the government. Perhaps this is symbolic, but it's definitely relevant. The cat's green and blue eyes are visible on the police helmets in this video. In their official webtoon and web novel, we learn about the cat, the odd-eyed, sort of blue and green-eyed cat that has been following them since debut. There's actually an alternate universe in those stories that the cat sort of takes over and impersonates everyone, and amongst the entire populace, there's just a lot of trust issues. You can't trust who you're looking at because they might be the cat. I think that this could be one of the doomed universes where that is what happens. The cat is kind of like their ultimate antagonist, so I'll talk more about the cat later. In the concept video, they are attending, or maybe hosting, a gathering that is outside the jurisdiction of the government, according to the opening. This is really similar to the Good Boy Gone Bad music videos in this way, and I think they're actually hinted at being in the same universe as that. I believe this is all, at the very least, a universe where the music videos happened at once. Sorta. There are items that are visible in the concept trailer that are from a bunch of past music videos. This bear was first seen in Runaway as a representation of all of their pain. This cast from 0x1 Love Song and Loser Lover that Taeyeon wore, and this book that was introduced in Eternally is a spell book that Taeyeon can read, one that Beomgyu went through great lengths to protect. Finally, the crown is the most recent one. It is their crown from the Together concept trailer, which was a heavy reference to The Little Prince, showing that they were forced to leave behind their childhood dreams and also forgot the fox, Moa, their tomorrow, who is always waiting for them. I am going to give an overly simplified explanation of how we got here, either because this might be your first time interacting with TXT's lore, or just, you know, a refresher. I really think that this is sort of the penultimate moment for their story, so I think it's good to get to know how it is they got here. First was Nap of a Star, where they promised to stay together forever, and were first shown that the odd-eyed cat is after them. They really start to discover their magic in Runaway, defined by the things that cause them pain, and Eternally tells us there's an apocalypse coming. They really learn about their magic in Blue Hour, but continue fooling around daydreaming in 0x1 = Love Song and Loser Lover, which is also where they meet Moa, their star, their tomorrow. But it's also there that they are kind of acting as if the rules don't apply to them while in the real world. In Frost, we see the prophesized apocalypse is beginning and where their magic is really being showcased. But the future that Subin had seen back in Eternally is really starting to become a problem. And we sort of see looping universes where things just end badly. Things really take a turn in Good Boy Gone Bad, where the reality begins to hit them hard as consequences for their past behavior starts to show up. They resist the temptation to remain in their dreams and fantasies in Sugar Rush Ride and wake up after deciding to leave it all behind. This is essentially why they fall down to earth in chasing that feeling. They have to find what it is that drives them in the real world at this point, while adapting to no longer being in a fantasy with their dreams on the Magic Island. In Deja Vu, we are shown that Moa is still there, guiding them even though they're invisible. It might not even be their original Moa, by the way. This is more of the concept of Moa from elsewhere, not necessarily the ones who appeared to turn them in before. In We'll Never Change and Over the Moon, we see they're still being guided to be together, literally over the moon and over the stars. Now the one that they wanted to protect for tomorrow has left the sanctuary. And in a way, they have also left their sanctuary, their magic island, the place of their dreams. So now they have to do everything that they can, not only to protect the people in their reality, but also to protect the Moa, the beautiful strangers of other realities who might have a better chance. Personally, I think they don't agree on how to do this. As we see in the concept video, some of them are holding on to the past, which is symbolized by the crowns, but they obviously realize they can't go back to the innocence of childhood as much as maybe they might want to. That sanctuary that they had before is no longer an option. But as we see throughout the concept video, they don't need these objects or the memories they hold for the magic itself to still be real. The magic is not really in the objects. It's with them, being together. In fact, memories of all of their past moments are what keep them from abandoning one another throughout the entirety of the concept trailer. For example, Yeonjun tries to tell Taeyeon to leave without him, but memories that remind him of the bad ending in Eternally, where he found Yeonjun by himself already gone, stopped him from leaving behind his friend. In return, the leaves that wrapped around him showed for a moment that he was once again tempted to live in their dreams, just like in Sugar Rush Ride, and they're removed by Yeonjun, saving him as well. Not only that, but Yeonjun also stops him from going too far. When it comes to Beomgyu, he once again finds himself trying to protect their spellbook, but this time, instead of being alone, Kai is there to help him, to literally help carry the weight for him. Subin, who just as we saw in their Doom's Night animation, attempts to sacrifice himself to put an end to all of this. However, unlike the ending that we saw there, they don't let him do it by himself this time, where he literally carries the weight of all their memories with them in the burning house, propelling himself forward to sacrifice himself for what he believes is best, their dreams. That's why all the items are there. but the others have all accepted the parts of themselves that previously held themselves back. Those things that they grew up with thinking that they made them wrong or abnormal. They wield those pains, those things that make them so special, thanks to everyone's help to run and save Subin this time. In fact, we actually see Beomgyu using his power to heal Kai, whose wings end up with the same spikes that Beomgyu had before. Again, sharing their burdens with each other. As I said before, the song that plays is the Song of the Stars, which in all of their other media is the song that ends the apocalypse. We see this being done briefly during the Doom's Night animation, for example. And I think that's really important to note. But as I said before, I believe this is the doomed universe, or at the very least Beautiful Strangers is. And it's set up for what becomes a successful universe that we've sort of seen before. But they realized that the secret is themselves a little bit too late here, even if it does help in that situation. So now let's move on and talk about the Beautiful Strangers music video. Again, it's the same surveillance dystopian world, but now there's a timer. As I said at the beginning, this music video is showing us the apocalypse, which has been a long time coming for TXT's story. It has been constantly threatened. The cat in this world has largely taken over. I actually don't think its goals are that important at this point in the story, because it's kind of just like this evil entity in this music video, but people ask about it a lot, so I'm just going to briefly explain. These goals are based on what they kind of tell us in the webtoon and the web novel, and also my own interpretation. Essentially, it's looking for like a vessel for its master in another universe, and also a way to get back to that universe. Like, it can't go back. It wants to return to its own world, but it's looking for some form of power to help it. I generally look at the cat as an embodiment of greed itself. It is something that believes it can accomplish a goal for its own benefit, but then also destroys everything else around it, which is why their world is like that. If you want to know more about why I think the cat is a representation of greed, I talk about it in my Sugar Rush Ride explanation, so I recommend watching that. I go more in depth there. Anyways, the Beautiful Strangers music video. It has several parts that occur out of order, so let's go over them now. 1. First, it's the parts where they're together and having fun. This is all memories in the past and is not happening in their present. 2. Then there are the scenes with the dance part where in the behind the scenes they said was occurring as part of a resistance. This resistance is also part of their past, and I assume that the people we saw them with in the concept trailer were also part of the resistance. Even if you disagree with me on that front, it's clear that they've lost some sort of trust with this group. Perhaps it's because they got caught, or maybe it's for another reason, but there is no trust amongst the people anymore, and it's kind of dangerous. 3. I think all other scenes are occurring after the sort of party thing that was happening in the concept trailer. They separate, and they know they are being looked for. They're on guard. They meet up together in a different location and also end up pulling each other out of dangerous situations, like when it seems as though the rebellion has turned on Subin, but they know where they're headed. I think some of the solo scenes could arguably be before all this as well, but for simplicity, I'm considering them as part of this section. 4. Then they meet up together, sharing the same scars. And I think this is also where their circle happens with the magic. They know the timer is literally running out. And then 5. There's everything that happens right when the lights go out, which signals the end. I'll explain what I think that means in a minute. And that's all the components. Interestingly, just like a good story, it opens the way that it ends, with the freedom that is most important to them, the memories that they can no longer return to. You hear the laughter of them playing literally at the end of the music video, the same way that the music video started, the same way that Nap of a Star started. But of course, the music video itself breaks into their real current situation. It's these memories that are, fueling them, but now they're running from the authorities. And there's a countdown this time as well, which for me is essentially a countdown to the apocalypse, to the end, to the end of the world, and the death of all dreams. But like I said, they know now. They know what they're doing all this for, and they tell us in the lyrics of the song itself, they do it for love. For the love of anyone and everyone in the same situation as them, that wants to protect what it is that they cherish the most. And I think this love is what actually brings them together. It's what gives them magic, and is what also makes them identifiable in the scene with the the lights where they're kind of like someone's recording them and they have the lights in their chest, they still have that dream, an invisible Moa in all of them. Personally, that's what I believe that the light is related to, though you can actually interpret that light, I think, in many different ways. But for example, in Deja Vu, it shows that Moa, tomorrow the fox, turning into a light that of course Yeonjun then sees and they follow, and that's kind of why I'm going with this is Moa as an explanation. It's kind of an invisible light, a part of them. And I think that kind of brings us to how they're planning to solve all of this. Again, my interpretation, but as I hinted before, I think that this is a bad ending, technically. But it is the bad ending that leads into the one where they successfully defeat the dragon, the cat, and end the apocalypse, and they can live in a world without all of that to worry about. That's why they're coming together in Beautiful Strangers. They become the 5 points of a star. With their love for a beautiful stranger and acceptance, finally, of themselves, they become the points of a star that become a guide for everyone else, that guides them in another universe. This is the star chapter together. Just as Moa has always been there to support them, they become a star to guide Moa to more beautiful tomorrows as well. In the end, they don't know the other universe, but they're together, carrying that love to protect beautiful strangers who will face the same calamity as them, and providing strength to them too. So in a way, they will also protect Moa as well. And that's how it ends. And I think that there's beauty in an ending. An ending makes room for an even better beginning. I think it's really poetic because the way TXT ends this chapter is by helping themselves in other universes, but it also lets our TXT and our timeline spread their wings. Their album's themes will no longer be tied to this overarching storyline. They have more freedom to pursue what it is that they want, whether that be original concepts or a new story. Actually, in an interview with the Associated Press, when commenting on how the star in this story represents like a dream, they were asked if their dreams have come true, to which Taein said, "Well, luckily all of our dreams have come true thanks to Moa. But as we grow, we have more and more dreams, so I think it's time for us to get through the rest." They're ready to move on from the chapter that is surrounding the star and move on to other pursuits. And it's also a very poetic ending for us Moa because they've ended this chapter together with us, in both the story and in real life in a metaphorical sense, and also in our hearts as idols. We were on this journey with them, and though they don't know all of us, we were all together. And now the story is done, but we're all here, so we all move on to tomorrow together, just like their group name was always intended to be. We can call their name Tomorrow by Together, and we know that it means so much more than just a name. It's a name that brings us all forward together, with them into their future stars and into their future dreams. And I can't wait to see where they're going. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here. This is usually where I'm like, wow, watch my other stuff, which absolutely you can go do. But people probably have been wondering where I've been at. I haven't posted a video in over a year. I've just gotten really busy in my real life. Kind of like, you know, when the boys are like in the real world and they're just doing things like a job. That's what I've been doing. I just don't have the amount of time that I used to dedicate to making YouTube content. But I really do still love the community, and I really appreciate everyone for being here and watching my stuff, even though I haven't posted in over a year. I can't say I will be consistent with YouTube content, but I might post here and there. I am working on a couple personal projects that I'm not ready to announce yet, but maybe at some point in the future I will come back and start talking about them, because I do think there's stuff that people would be interested in, but it's not ready yet. So again, just thank you for being here. I really appreciate that you're here and, you know, sticking around. Keep supporting who you support and loving what you love. Stay sunny, everyone. Bye.